Temple of Dendera, Elon Musk retweeted Part 2. After completing the tour of the large hall, comes a small hypostyle hall that can be entered through an entrance at the end of the southern wall of the large hall. It is raised on 6 columns in 2 rows. There are a number of openings in the ceiling of the hall for lighting and ventilation. And there are 6 rooms on both sides of this hall, 3 on each side, which were used as preparation areas for various aspects of the daily ritual. They are rooms for the following: precious stones room, liquid offering room, offering store room, laboratory room, harvest room and offering entry. There are inscriptions and scenes on the walls inside these rooms showing the purpose of each room and what it was used for. The precious stones room was used to store precious stones and silver. In this room, there is a view on the middle wall facing the entrance to the room showing the king offering offerings to the goddess, and another scene showing the offering bearers offering the precious stones to the goddess Hathor, and another scene on the left at the entrance hole showing the king as he presents a box of precious stones to the gods, and there are scenes on the left and right walls of the room showing the king as he presents the necklace of happiness to the goddess Hathor, which is made of precious stones. The laboratory room. It is the room in which perfumes, ointments, and incense were made for the daily rituals of the temple. On the walls of this room we can see the following scenes. A scene of the king offering ointments to the goddess, another scene of the king offering perfumes as an offerings to the gods, and scene of him lighting incense as an offerings to the goddess. The liquid offering room, or Nile Hall. It is a room to enter liquid offerings as Nile water, wine and milk. There is a passage from the western wall of the room led to a well to pass the water through it. There is a scene on its wall showing the king offering wine to the goddess. The offering store room, it's the third room on the right side of the hall, and there is a passage from its southern wall led to offerings hall. There are inscriptions and scenes on the wall of the room showing the king offering offerings, and another view showing him presents the temple emblem to the goddess Hathor. The harvest room. It's a room for storing harvest crops. There are inscriptions and scenes showing the king offering the crops, plants and flowers to the temple goddess. The offerings entry. It's the last room on the left side of the hall. It was used as passage to pass the offerings from outside to inside the hall through the passage from the eastern wall. After this hall comes the hall of offerings, which can be entered through an opening at the end of the hypostyle hall from the southern side. The offering hall was dedicated for collecting all kinds of offerings and arranging them before presenting them to the goddess of the temple. There are square openings in the ceiling of this hall for ventilation and lighting. And to the right and left, when entering the hall, there are 2 stairs leading to the roof of the temple. At the end of the hall on the eastern side, there is a room called the linen room, and it was used to store linen and clothes that were put on the statues of the goddess Hathor during religious ritual. On the walls of this hall there are inscriptions and scenes of offering offerings to the gods. After this hall comes another hall known as the Hall of the Divine Ened, or the Hall of the Complex of the Gods, where the statues of other deities assembled with Hathor before a procession began. In front of this hall is the central sanctuary room, which is the holiest place in the temple. It remained closed most of the time of the year and only opened on holidays and religious occasions. It was forbidden to enter it except for the high priest and the king only. On the walls of this room there are inscriptions and scenes depicting the king worshipping the goddess Hathor and offering her offerings of food and wine, and other inscriptions of the king as he offers offerings to other gods. About the central sanctuary on its sides and rear are located 11 chapels dedicated to the other deities who are associated with Hathor's chief attributes, the most important of which is Shrine of Hathor, Shrine of Ehi, Shrine of Isis, Shrine of Sakar, and Shrine of Re. On the western side, there is the cabin of the goddess Nut, or Chapel of the New Year, where the life of the deities is renewed every year through this chapel. The scene on its ceiling depicts the goddess Nut giving birth to the sun disk in the new year to give new life to the deities. And there is a crypt to bury the statues of the gods at the end of each year. The staircase to the west of the offering hall, which was used by the priests to ascend to the roof, has ascending figures of the king and various priests with the shrine of the goddess carved on its right-hand wall. The inscriptions and scenes on the walls of the staircase represent the priests carrying offerings, flags, and statues of the goddess Hathor and other deities, which are the procedures that represent the details of the New Year's celebration. The scenes on the right side represent the procession of the priests ascending, and the ones on the left side represent the procession of the priests descending. There are also openings in the staircase for lighting and ventilation. On the roof in the southwest corner is a kiosk, in which the ritual of the goddess's union with the sun disk was performed. It has 4 Hathor columns on each side, in which the statues of Hathor and Athor deities would have been taken from its hiding place to the roof of the temple for the significant New Year's festival celebrated, where it would have spent the night prior to beholding the rising sun in a symbolic union with the solar disk. The surface of the roof is slightly inclined and has channels to guide rainwater from the roof and drain it to holes bearing the shape of a lion's head placed at distances above the outer walls of the temple. The other structure on the roof was a shrine to Osiris. This 2-room shrine told the story of Osiris' resurrection and impregnation of Isis to create their son, Horus. And there is the relief that attracted most visitors, was the zodiac relief on the ceiling. Even though it was a copy of the original now in the Louvre in Paris. Beneath the floors of the chambers in the rear part of the temple to the right of the room of the statue of the gods Hathor is an entrance that leads to the 12 underground crypts. The main use of these crypts was for keeping cult equipment, archives and magical emblems for the temple's protection, but the most important object kept in the crypts was a statue of the Ba of Hathor. Also it was used to store precious gems and ornaments. It includes an important group of inscriptions and scenes that characterize the pharaonic architecture, including the scene of the opening of the stone door, the winged Kibri who pushes the winged sun disk in front of him between the signs of the east and west, the ritual of offering bread to the goddess Hathor, in addition to the ritual of stabbing the crocodile in front of poplar with 2 edges, the scenes of the 7 Hathors. And there is a drawing. When you look at its details, you think it is like an electric lamp. However, most scholars say that these are just inscriptions like any ancient Egyptian inscriptions and do not necessarily mean the shape of the light bulb.